Happy Tuesday morning, everybody. I thought I'd give you another Hurricane Florence update. I kind of waited a little bit today to try to get the latest computer runs that run every morning around 7, 8 in the morning, and we get the data around 11. What you're looking at here is its current position, its current, satellite view. This is the infrared satellites. This is kind of showing you the coldest clouds or the tallest, most intense cloud structure. So you see a pretty well-defined eye. The storm weakened ever so slightly overnight. Basically went through what's called an eye wall replacement cycle, where basically the inner eye wall kind of collapses and a new, larger eye wall is established. So re-strengthening is expected over the next 12 to 24 hours. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still a Category 4 hurricane. The winds drop like 5 or 10 miles per hour, so it wasn't a huge reduction in strength. You can see it's moving kind of towards the west or just north of west. And it's actually picked up a little bit of speed. I thought I'd show you a better perspective. So here's the southeastern U.S. coast. So here we are in Charlotte, Wilmington, Raleigh area. So that's kind of where we are. You can see there's Florence. It's now in view. It looks very ominous, and it is about 2.5 days away. So it's about noontime on Tuesday. So in 2 days, on noontime on Thursday, the storm's going to be right here on our doorstep, and then move inland somewhere along the coast Thursday night into Friday morning is what it's looking like. Here's the current projected track. So again, the track is quite narrow, meaning there's pretty high confidence it's going to go to about here. Then it actually widens, and you can see anywhere from kind of Cape Hatteras all the way down to just south of Myrtle Beach is the likely landfall location. So that has narrowed somewhat since yesterday. But then notice how it turns into a giant circle. It's basically what's going to happen as the storm kind of roars inland. It's going to slow down as it approaches the coast. And then it's basically going to stall out and drift around North and South Carolina over the weekend, which is really bad news in terms of flooding potential. I'll talk about that in a second. So again, here's its current location as of 11 a.m. Winds currently at 130 miles an hour, making it a Category 4 hurricane. I just thought I'd show you some model tracks. This is the GFS. This is the absolute latest run of the GFS, which is quote unquote the American model. Yesterday and even last night's run had the storm system up here around Cape Hatteras kind of stalling out and then moving back southward. This is a pretty dramatic shift from that. It has moved the storm several hundred miles southward here and now has it making landfall kind of in the Wilmington area right along the North-South Carolina border. And then these are hours. This is 48 hours from this morning. So this is Thursday morning at 8 a.m. And this is Thursday evening, and then this is Friday, and then this is Saturday even. So it just has it barely moving inland, just sitting here, kind of stalling out, which is bad news for this area of the Carolinas to have a stalling out hurricane. So that was the latest run of the American model. Here's a similar version of the American model. This is going to be the future American model. This is kind of the experimental one, if you will. It shows a very similar track stalling out in this area and then eventually drifting south of Charlotte. So there's Charlotte there, kind of drifting to our south is that. And then, of course, everyone always likes to look at the European model. So this is the latest European model. And you can see there's great consistency now that the storm is going to hit somewhere along the North Carolina, South Carolina border, stall out for a handful of days, and then kind of drift towards the west. And I'll show you what this looks like in a second. Now, this is not guaranteeing landfall in that region by any stretch. Obviously, this model in particular was over here yesterday, so it's shifted a lot. So there is certainly the potential for it to shift, especially when there's low steering currents in the atmosphere. This kind of gives you a better perspective, I think. This shows you the current location of the storm, and then it gives you, what these are called, again, the ensembles. This gives you all the different potential outcomes essentially. So you can see landfall looks like it's going to be somewhere kind of the middle part of the coast of North Carolina all the way down to about Charleston. So the cone is a lot narrower. Yesterday this was like from Cape Hatteras all the way down to Georgia. So it's certainly narrowed, with the center of that cone being right along kind of the North Carolina, South Carolina border. And then you can see most of the computers have it moving westward through southern North Carolina or northern South Carolina, and then eventually up to our north several days later. The problem with this is it's going to come in, it's going to have huge impacts wherever it hits the coast. Category 4, lots of storm surge, tremendous coastal flooding, and then obviously the 140 mile per hour winds, lots of destruction along the coast. Then it's going to slowly drift inland, which is going to bring a ton of rain to mostly North Carolina. Basically on the northern and eastern side of the storm, that's where most of the rain will be. So if the center takes a track something like this, All of the zones in here, north and east of the track, so basically much of almost the entire state would see a tremendous amount of rain, with the focus being kind of in this area, kind of the Raleigh area. If it goes a little bit farther south, then that threat moves farther south with it. Then coupled with that is as it moves inland, it's going to produce a big wind field from Charlotte to Raleigh, where we'll have some pretty strong winds starting Thursday afternoon and gradually increasing in speed as we head through Thursday night into Friday. This shows you that American model, but it shows you the storm itself. So this, I thought I'd step it for you through time. You can see here it comes. So just to put this into perspective, this is Thursday morning at 8 a.m. So you can see there's the center of the storm. So for reference, here's Charlotte. Raleigh's in this area. There's Wilmington. So Wilmington, Charlotte, Raleigh. So there's the storm, right? It's a couple hundred miles offshore. And then as I move through the day on Thursday, this is Thursday afternoon around 2. And then this is Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening around 7, 8 in the evening. So it's looking like late Thursday is when landfall is likely going to be. Now, this could go up or down 6, 8 hours, something like that. But sometime during the late day on Thursday is what it's looking like now. You can see the wind field. These blues are increased winds all across North and South Carolina. So by Thursday afternoon, winds in Charlotte will be already at 15 or 20 miles per hour. And as the storm system rolls inland like this, you can see now we're in these purples and brighter colors. So then our winds would potentially be 30 to 40 miles per hour if it takes a track something like this. So down trees and power lines are certainly a possibility, coupled with copious amounts of rain. I can't stress that enough. The flow is off the ocean here, and it will be dragging rain all the way around the northern side of the storm system. So these regions from Greensboro and from Charlotte to Greensboro to Raleigh, especially the Raleigh area, if it takes a track like this, could easily see a foot or more of rain. And anytime you get a foot or more of rain in like a 2 or 3 day window, it causes widespread destructive flooding. So I think that's going to be part 2 of this. Part 1 is going to be here when it makes landfall, wherever it hits. This is a very powerful storm, so it's going to cause really catastrophic damage to whatever coastal region it rolls into. So that's going to be problem 1, the surge and the actual wind destruction initially. Then it's going to move inland, and it's going to be a huge wind and rain producer across much of the eastern half of the state. So basically from Charlotte to Greensboro to Raleigh, we'll have quite strong winds and the potential for a lot of rainfall. Now, this is just the American model's version. The European model has this storm moving inland and then moving to our south like this, which would bring more rain and more wind to Charlotte. So the exact track does matter. So we may not see as much rain if it takes more of a track like this, and more of the rain would be in Raleigh. Whereas if the storm is a little bit, maybe 50, 80 miles to the southwest, we would certainly see more wind and then more rain. So the rainfall forecasts are all over the place. The American model has us getting something like 3 or 4 inches of rain. The European model has Charlotte getting almost 10 inches of rain. So there's obviously quite a few fine details to work out. But suffice it to say, be prepared. I would say anywhere, if you live basically anywhere from the western, maybe 2/3 of the state, you should be prepared to not have power for an extended period of time and to deal with tremendous amounts of flooding across the state. I think the real bullseye is going to be kind of in central North Carolina, from the coast, central, where the eye kind of goes onshore, and then through the central part of the state. Exactly where that axis of heavy rain sets up is still up in the air, but that's what it's looking like at the moment. And then just in terms of intensity, just as people keep asking how strong it's going to get, here's its current speed, about 130 miles an hour. It is probably going to tick upwards a few more miles per hour as the day wears on today. Middle category 4, which is very, very strong. And then it all starts to decrease here. And this is when it moves on shore. So you see like 72 hours from now, something like that, is when it's moving on shore, and then it rapidly weakens into a tropical storm once it's over the state itself. So to summarize, we don't know the exact track. It looks right now like it's going to hit somewhere in the southern part of North Carolina, northeastern part of South Carolina, and then move inland, stall for a little bit, and then maybe drift off to the west, which will bring huge amounts of rain. So it's a 2-part story here. First is the destructive nature of the hurricane winds and storm surge. Then it will be the inland flooding threat that it will persist all the way through the end of the weekend. I think we will start to see rain Thursday night into Friday into Saturday. So this could be a 3 or 4 day event, depending on how long this thing stalls out. Anyway, I will have an update either later tonight or early tomorrow morning once the latest models come in. So enjoy your Tuesday. Prepare now. Expect the worst. Hope for the best. All right. Have a good day, everybody.